One here. Okay, excellent. Xin chào and a very good morning, everybody. His Excellency, Vice Minister Dong Thang Hai, His Excellencies, Ambassadors of Finland, Ambassador of Peru, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's truly an honor for me to be here today, and I'm extremely delighted to have the opportunity to speak to you and present a little bit Switzerland's approach here in Vietnam on how to promote a sustainable trade. Maybe very quickly about my presentation, what about the outline. I will quickly present to you our strategy here in Vietnam, the so-called country strategy for Vietnam 2017-2020, then about the key challenges that Vietnamese exporters face, and then also our approach, how we try to address these challenges and how to support the local SMEs and the Vietnamese government to tackle these obstacles. And at the end, I would like to conclude with some results that we already have achieved in this regard, and also a little bit the way forward, where our focus will be in the future. Oh, sorry. So, actually, the Swiss State Secretariat for Economic Affairs, called SECO, represents the Swiss government's center of expertise for all core issues related to economic policies, so including also Switzerland's Economic Development Cooperation. SECO's economic and trade policy measures support sustainable and inclusive economic growth in our partner countries, and this is among others Vietnam, but also in other countries. We're active in Latin America, among others in Peru, in the African continent, in South Africa, Ghana, Tunisia, and Egypt, but also here in Asia, among others, Vietnam and Indonesia. So, SECO's Economic Development Cooperation focuses its activities on specific areas of competence and expertise in 3 targeted outcomes, which are aligned also with the Universal 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. First, SECO helps to promote effective economic policies and institutions. That means that we try to create a sound framework conditions for sustainable economic growth. Second, SECO supports, especially here in Vietnam, a creation of a competitive and resource-efficient private sector. Our strategy actually is to help integrating partner countries such as Vietnam into the global economy and enhance their competitive position. We strongly believe in this regard that exporting SMEs are actually the main drivers of a sustainable and inclusive economic growth. So all the kind of trade promotion activities are key in supporting these SMEs in getting more competitive and ultimately also to be able to export to foreign markets. Our third focus here in Vietnam is about the development of low emission and climate resilient economies, and a specific focus here is on the integrated urban development. So how to build up urban centers here in Vietnam that are climate resilient and that are inclusive as such. Looks a little bit complicated, but just to give you a broad overview of actually the structure, how SECO is operating. And you can see, maybe if you have a pointer here. No. Okay, on the left side, you see the 4 divisions of SECO working towards this overall objective of a sustainable inclusive growth. So, among others, we do have the Sustainable Trade Division, and this division, if you look at the matrix, we have so-called business lines. And all business lines colored in green are actually contributing to the SECO outcome of an enhanced trade and competitiveness. So here you can see that our interventions in the trade promotion unit contribute to favorable framework conditions for sustainable trade, but also to a greater integration and competitiveness of SMEs, that they can get a better access to foreign markets. Needless to say that, of course, our interventions are well aligned with the priorities of the Vietnamese government here, and of course the Social Economic Development Plan, but also of the UN 2030 Development Agenda. Now, let me talk very quickly about the challenges that Vietnamese exporters face in this country. And I would say it's more a general approach on how to classify the challenges. It's not specifically to Vietnamese exporters. I would say many exporters in many countries face similar challenges. But maybe let me start also to say that, and we've heard that in previous presentations, that Vietnam's development path actually over the past 3 decades is extremely remarkable. You have achieved great economic growth. You have successfully integrated into the global economy, but still there are challenges to enter into foreign markets, and especially for SMEs, there are huge challenges. And I try to cluster it in 4 groups. One is about the barriers to entry in foreign markets, so-called non-tariff barriers. The SMEs, they will face cumbersome procedures. They need to comply and meet with quality requirements. There are certification requirements. There you need to know about okay, how does the market actually look like? So you have to do some market intelligence. A huge variety of issues that you need to tackle. A second point is about sustainability standards. And here I just have to say, today's consumers and also buyers, they want to know more and more about the conditions under which products are manufactured. So in many export sectors, standards and labels on ecological and social criteria have become the norm. So for exporters, sometimes it's extremely difficult to catch up with the latest trends, with the standards that an exporter has to comply with. And if they want to successfully export to markets such as Switzerland or Europe market, US market, they need to be aware of all these kind of requirements. A third box is about legislation. I think this is also extremely an important one, because how does the legislation, for example, in Switzerland look like? So I would assume that most SMEs here in Vietnam, they don't know about the legislation of Switzerland if they want to enter in this market, or also in other countries. So to get the intelligence to look at the kind of, and here I would like to refer to the ITC, International Trade Center's trade map, for example. There you can refer to what are actually the requirements and all the legislations in the exporting countries. So this is a tool that supports the SMEs actually in finding out, okay, what are the legislations that I need to meet with. But in general, this is a huge black box for most SMEs here. The fourth box I would like to mention is about the tariff measures. Here, obviously, this is one of still the greatest barrier for most SMEs. If they want to export, especially in the agriculture sector, garment industry, I mean, there are some tariffs, and if they want to export, so this is one of a very considerable cost factor for exporters here in Vietnam. So now let's turn to actually Switzerland's or SECO's support to improve the SMEs market access here in Vietnam. And before I go into a little bit more detail, I would like to just highlight 2 kind of buzzwords that are extremely important for the Swiss government. One is about sustainability. Sustainability in a way that SECO would like to support companies to become more responsible and sustainable. Imagine there's a kind of a triangle of sustainability, and each corner represents an aspect of sustainability, namely economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sociability. If you look at the first one, economic corner, then of course you want to generate and maximize your profits, right? For you as a company owner, but also maybe for your shareholder if you have a company at the stock market. So you actually care about your own environment. If you move up to the second corner, there is like the social sustainability. And here, if you have a socially friendly company that also cares about the workers, and you can provide good working conditions, so you also actually contribute to a good environment for your workers and their families. So it's already a little bit bigger, so you contribute to actually a little society. And then if you turn to the third corner, it's about environmental sociability. And here, of course, this is something that not only concerns you as a business owner, this is actually broader. It's also not only about your workers, this is about like your people living around your company. It's about the country as such, and even global issues. I mean, climate change, all the effects, the negative effects, they do not stop at the border. So this is actually a global phenomena. So if you care about the environmental aspects as well, you actually contribute to the global wealth of this planet. So this benefits actually all of us. And we, through our interventions, try to always also promote this kind of sustainability when we support the local SMEs. And the second point, which is extremely important for the Swiss government, is about the SMEs' competitiveness. And why SMEs? I think, as I already mentioned at the beginning, it's not only in Vietnam, but also in Switzerland. 97% of all companies are actually SMEs, and they contribute to the national growth, of course. And so we really would like to encourage local SMEs to become responsible and sustainable business entities, which at the end can be more competitive in the market, because in our view, if you are more productive, if you take care about all the sustainability dimensions, then you have a kind of a market advantage at the end. So here, I think it's difficult to read, but I assume or trust that you have the handout in front of you. It's a little bit, actually, I call it a little bit the results chain of our intervention. So let me start maybe with the very far right, this box about exports. So this is actually the ultimate goal of our intervention. So we want to help local SMEs to improve their exports, to increase their exports to foreign markets, and to ultimately grow sustainably. Our interventions currently are in sectors like textile and footwear, wooden furniture, but also agri and aquaculture products, commodities. This mainly because this is well aligned with the priorities of the Vietnamese government, and these are strong export sectors where we think we can contribute meaningfully. So then how do we achieve, or how do the local SMEs achieve these increased exports? Then we move one box to the left. So it's all about how to become more competitive, how to become interesting for foreign buyers to link up with the global value chain. So this is something, and I think that we will have a presentation later on from my colleague Ron from USAID, who explains also the importance of linking local suppliers to global value chains, because only then you're able to really have this spillover effect from all these foreign direct investments that are coming in to Vietnam, and also to really have access to foreign markets. And in order to achieve that, we have actually 4 intervention lines which are linked with specific projects on the very left, all the left boxes here. So we are working on value chain and last mile trade promotion. So trade promotion here is extremely important in our view, because it really helps export-ready SMEs and exporters to really do the last step. Because usually, although you may have a very high qualitative product, you still face some challenges to really make the last step and to export effectively to foreign markets. So trade promotion services like market intelligence, branding, marketing, these are all key aspects that help local SMEs to successfully enter foreign markets. Then the second box where we are working on is on standard and quality compliance. This is a little bit further upstream in a value chain, because you need to have these good products at hand, right, first. And as I mentioned at the challenges before, there are certain standards and requirements that need to be fulfilled in order to be able to export to those markets. So through several projects with the international labor organizations on productivity issues, on labor market issues, but also on quality, technical quality standards. That's something that the Swiss government here in Vietnam is supporting. A third box is about resource efficient and cleaner production. It's not directly linked to the export activities, so I will leave that out, but just to mention it to you that for us it's also, if we want to have a competitive private sector, it also closely links to the environment, of course, and then cleaner production, resource efficient production is extremely important. And the fourth one, of course, is on the macro level. We need to create favorable framework conditions. And here I just would like to draw your attention on one initiative that we supported. It was with the World Trade Institute in Bern. This is a university where we trained Vietnamese exporters in how to get familiar with all the trade policy issues. And it's about like in-depth knowledge of international rules. It's about how to negotiating trade talks and implementing them ultimately successfully. So this is something that we thought is good for the exporters. So they also need to learn about this negotiation skills and also to establish favorable framework condition here on a legal basis in Vietnam. Maybe to my last two slides, just to draw also your attention a little bit to the results that we have achieved so far. Mostly, we improved the participation of local SMEs in global value chains, and this is what it is about, in my opinion, because Vietnam is really at the crossroad where they actually they are extremely successful in attracting foreign direct investments, but somehow the spillover effects are still quite low. So how to link the global SMEs up to global value chains is extremely important, and we have achieved some nice results here in this regard. And all these results that I'm presenting here are based on external and then independent evaluations that we have conducted of our programs, and this is the result of these evaluations. So we also, I just quickly mentioned it, improve the productivity and working conditions at SMEs through our ILO programs. Sustainability I mentioned. This is a big topic for Switzerland, and we're actually very pleased to see that more and more they get integrated into policy formulation and the business practices in companies. It's all about competitiveness and resource efficiency of SMEs that has been enhanced through programs of the Eco-Industrial Park program, for example, but also, and here I think this the most important one for you is about the business supporting network that has been developed. Here I just would like to give you the example of our support to the Viet Trade, the Vietnamese trade promotion unit. Over the last 12 years, we have supported them in strengthening their institutional capacities in order that they can develop a sustainable trade support network. Also decentralized in the provinces, so that the regional trade support institutions and trade promotion units, so that they are enabled and have the right tools at hand to support the local SMEs in getting training in market intelligence, packaging, branding, and so on. And with that, we thought we can really have, or we contributed to a successful establishment of those networks, and ultimately also to the better exports of local SMEs. Very quickly, and with that slide I will end my presentation. It's about a little bit forward-looking. For us, the priority, of course, remains on trade promotion services that we would like to, together with our partners at the Ministry of Industry and Trade, but also international partners, to help creating a strong trade promotion network here in Vietnam, but also on a policy level to help develop a national export strategy for Vietnam. It's always on a 10-year cycle, so 21 to 2030 is the next one, and we are about to design a new program which actually would like to support the development and also then the implementation of this national strategy. Private sector development as such will remain a key focus area of the Swiss government's Economic Development Cooperation. Here it's about two main issues, access to market and access to capital. So how to improve the SMEs' access to those two topics. And the third one, of course, is also about sustainable development initiatives that is on a key or is at heart of the Swiss Development Cooperation. Very quickly about the instruments, actually we usually provide technical assistance. It's all grant-based, so no loans. It's really about providing expertise, building up capacities, and maybe very quickly, that's something that actually we have focused over the last 4 or 6 years. More and more is about a so-called BSO approach, the business support organizations. We realized that if you just support single companies, the sustainability of our interventions might not be that high. So working with business support organizations, mostly sector associations or these trade institutes, then you have a better leverage at the end, and you are more sustainable because they can then overtake all the tools and training paths which can be delivered to the SMEs. And partners and types, of course, we work with the government agencies, IFIs, World Bank, IFC. We have big programs in the private sector development, but also other international organizations and Swiss institutions, as I mentioned before. And finally, our interventions actually targeting different levels. We do have global programs where we work more on a thematic approach, to help establish, for example, voluntary sustainability standards, but then also, of course, regional and bilateral program only with one state, for example, here in Vietnam, and multi-B, that means it's always in collaboration with a multinational institution, for example, the World Bank. So with that, I would like to conclude my presentation. I will also just to assure you that the Swiss government remains committed to support Vietnam in its endeavor to boost its exports and to go for a sustainable trade in the future. So with that, thank you very much for your attention.